So these are the Bose QC Ultra Headphones, and these are Bose's new top-tier ANC headphones, and they're also the successors to the Bose NC 700s. Now, the Bose QC Ultra Headphones are really close to being amazing, but Bose just doesn't pay attention to the fine details. Nonetheless, today we're going to check out the Bose QC Ultra Headphones, and we're going to see what they're all about, and we're also going to compare them to both the Bose NC 700s and the Bose QC45s, which have been my daily drivers for the last 2 years, and we're going to see if it's worth upgrading.
We're going on pricing. This is something that got upgraded on the Bose QC Ultra Headphones, and not in a good way. The Bose QC Ultra have a retail price of $430. It is a little up there, but worth it, but I'd wait to get them on sale if you can. But for comparison's sake, the Bose NC 700 had a retail price of $400 when they first came out, and now they have a retail price of $380. And then there are the Bose QC45s, which have a retail price of $330. Now, we're going to be comparing the Bose QC Ultra to a few other headphones out there, so keep an eye out for those videos. Nonetheless, if you want to pick these headphones up, they'll be linked down below, or you can always try out the new YouTube shopping button. And if you want to further support the channel, pick up a Big Head approved hat, link down below. We've got trucker hats and snapbacks. By buying a hat, you help the unbiased and unsponsored videos coming, and it also helps us cover more products and produce more versus videos. Thank you to everyone who's already bought a hat, and look out for more designs coming soon. And also, please remember to hit that like button, and let's get subscribed. Now first, let's talk about the included carrying case. Now just like before, the QC Ultra come included with a hard shell case. So this case is going to keep your headphones well protected even if they're in a cramped backpack. But more importantly, this case is decently small. Since the QC Ultra have a fully collapsible design, this case has a slightly smaller footprint than the NC 700's case because these headphones have a lay flat design to them. Now the Ultra's case is a little larger than the Bose QC45 or QC case. But this case is still great to travel with. It's much smaller than the Sony 1000XM5 and Sennheiser Momentum 4 cases, and Bose's case is much better than the sorry exclusive cases that you get included with the Beat Studio Pro or the AirPod Max. Overall, the Bose QC Ultra's case is great for traveling, and I would say that this is an upgrade over the Bose NC 700's case. But with the case out of the way, let's talk about the headphones themselves. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the QC Ultras now have a fully collapsible design to them, whereas the NC 700s have a lay flat design, which is why they have a slightly smaller case. But build quality wise, the QC Ultra are great, but they don't feel as premium as the Bose NC 700s. Now, just like the NC 700s, the Ultras have plastic ear cups, and these ear cups pivot and swivel very well. We also have these aluminum arms that glide to extend. We then have this headband with plastic on the top and well-cushioned leatherette on the bottom. Overall, the build quality on the QC Ultra is good, but it just doesn't feel as premium as the NC 700s. With the NC 700s, there's a big hit of exposed aluminum that goes across the headband, and underneath the headband, we have this super padded silicone. And finally, there's the leatherette on the NC 700s. The leatherette on the NC 700s just feels nicer, softer, and more supple than the leatherette found on the QC Ultra. Now, don't get me wrong, the leatherette on the QC Ultra feels decent, but it is a downgrade when compared to the leatherette on both the NC 700 and Bose QC45. But when it comes to fit, there have been some minor improvements here. Now first, when it comes to clamping force, the Bose QC Ultra have a neutral fit to them, as in they aren't too loose and they aren't too tight. They're definitely big head approved, and if you're someone that has a really big head, or if you like to wear hats, they will have you covered. However, the Bose QC Ultra aren't as loose-fitting as either the Bose QC or Bose QC45. So if you want a really loose fit, then you might want to look at those. But when it comes to the earpads on these headphones, just as you'd expect, the ear cups on the Ultras are very spacious and they will have no problem accommodating most ear types. And the earpads on the Ultra are a little more spacious than the earpads on the NC 700. And even if you have very large ears or ears that stick out a lot, these will have have you covered as well. And since the earpads have very little surface area coming in contact with your skin, these earpads do a really good job of staying cooler for longer. But the key fit difference between the QC Ultra and NC 700 is going to come down to their weight and the padding on their headbands. Now, the QC Ultra, sure, they might not feel as premium as the NC 700, but they are a little more lightweight, weighing in at 254 grams, whereas the NC 700s weigh in at 264 grams. Now, the NC 700s are already lightweight, but seeing the QC Ultra being able to shave off 10 grams is nice because it does help with overall comfort. They're less noticeable when they're on your head, and you notice them shifting around less when you're walking around with them on. But for comparison's sake, the Bose QC45s weigh in at 237 grams, and the Bose QCs weigh in at 235 grams. So both of these are more comfortable than the QC Ultra. But when compared to other headphones out there, the QC Ultra fare well because the Sony 1000 XM5s weigh in at 250 grams, the Sony 1000 XM4s weigh in at 255 grams, the Beat Studio Pros weigh in at 260 grams, and then there are the AirPod Max, which weigh in at a hefty 384 grams. But then there are the headbands on these headphones. Now, the headband on the QC Ultra is well padded, and hotspots aren't an issue for this headband. However, the headband on the NC 700 is a lot softer. It does a much better job of conforming to the shape of your head, and the silicone has a nice cooling effect. So I do miss the headband on the NC 700 on the QC Ultra. But overall, the Bose QC Ultra are a pair of very comfortable headphones to wear for multiple hours on end, because they have a neutral fit to them, they have very spacious ear cups, and they're fairly lightweight. However, I do prefer the silicone headband on the NC 700 because it does a better job of conforming to your head, and the NC 700s do feel more premium than the QC Ultra because of their exposed aluminum headband and better feeling leatherette.
But now let's talk about tech specs. When it comes to battery life, the QC Ultras have been upgraded over the NC 700s. Now, the QC Ultras have an advertised battery life of 24 hours with the active noise cancellation turned on, whereas the NC 700s have an advertised battery life of 20 hours with the ANC turned on, and the QC45s have an advertised battery life of 24 hours with their ANC turned on. However, if you were to use the QC Ultras with their immersive audio and their active noise cancellation turned on, then they're only going to have an advertised battery life of 18 hours, which could be a problem if you plan on flying with these headphones. Now, don't get me wrong, a battery life of 24 hours with their ANC turned on is good, but most premium ANC headphones these days are trying to go for a battery life of 30 hours with their ANC turned on. But the main issue here is that, yet again, Bose does not allow you to use these headphones with their active noise cancellation completely turned off. You either have to have their ANC or their ambient mode turned on. And personally, I do feel that that's a shame, because I think that if you could use these headphones with their ANC turned off, they could possibly go for as long as 40 hours, 35 at least. Personally, I just wish that Bose would just give you the option to use these headphones with their active noise cancellation turned off, because depending on your situation, maybe you want to extend their battery life for as long as possible, because maybe you're traveling. And this is something that Bose can very easily add through a firmware update, but they just refuse to do so. But when it comes to charging these headphones, just as you'd expect, these headphones charge via a USB-C port, as they should. And when it comes to the fast charging on these headphones, if you were to charge them up for 15 minutes from a dead battery, then you're going to get 3 hours of playback time. Definitely usable, but this is a little behind when compared to the rest of the competition. Overall, the battery life on the Bose QC Ultra is okay, but this is still one of Bose's main weak points. A 24-hour battery life with your ANC turned on is decent for traveling, but 18 hours with your immersive audio turned on is a bit problematic. And then there's also the whole thing where you can't use these headphones with their ANC turned off, so you can't extend their battery life that way. But when it comes to connectivity, these headphones can be connected to any two Bluetooth devices at the same time, which is good if you're a power user because you can easily hot swap from one device to another regardless of ecosystem. And when it comes to overall performance, these headphones have zero latency across the board when watching movies or videos on your phone, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android device. But when it comes to audio codecs, these headphones only have support for SBC and AAC. Unfortunately, these headphones still don't have support for higher quality audio codecs out there. But if you want to, you can always still use a wired connection with these headphones because they still have an audio jack, which is great because you can still plug these headphones into your entertainment system if you're on a plane, or if you're a content creator, you can still monitor your audio. Just keep in mind that the Bose QC Ultras are still using a 2.5mm audio jack instead of your more standard 3.5mm audio jack. But more importantly, these headphones cannot be used passively. Even if you're going to use them with a wired connection, they need to be powered on. And also, you cannot use the USB-C port on these headphones as a wired connection. The USB-C port on the Bose QC Ultra is strictly used for charging.
But with all that out of the way, let's talk about sound. Now, just as you'd expect, the Bose QC Ultra are a pair of neutral sounding headphones, as in they have bass, but their bass is mostly on the audible side. So some people will say that these headphones sound flat because they can't physically feel their bass. But these headphones aren't flat, they just sound different. Now, you can always go in and adjust the EQ on these headphones to your liking, and you can crank up their bass, but even with their bass cranked all the way up, they still aren't going to physically rattle your head all that much. Okay, so with bass out of the way, let's talk about what's really important here, and that's going to be the openness and instrument separation, because the immersive audio on the Bose QC Ultra is the main differentiating factor here. With the immersive audio turned off, the Bose QC Ultra sounds and performs very similar to both the Bose NC 700s and Bose QC45s. Perhaps the Bose QC Ultra has a little better clarity in the highs, but besides that, unless you listen to these headphones back to back, and if you're extremely particular, you're not going to notice a huge difference. However, what is a huge difference here is the immersive audio. With the immersive audio, the Bose QC Ultra are going to put an emphasis on the vocals so that they're right in your face, and the instrumentals are going to open up a lot. Honestly, the Bose QC Ultra sound like a completely different pair of headphones with their immersive audio being turned on, and I love them. And with this immersive audio feature, you can set them to track your head so your music will move with you, or you can have it set to still. Now, personally, I hate the whole head tracking thing, so I just use these headphones with their immersive audio set to still. Basically, immersive audio does to the Bose QC Ultra what spatial audio does for both the AirPod Max and other AirPods. It makes them sound more open, but they don't sound artificial or shallow. But here's the problem with immersive audio. If you want to get the best sound quality out of your headphones, and it's safe to assume that you always want to get the best sound quality out of your headphones, you have to use the Ultras with their immersive audio turned on. But if you always use the immersive audio on these headphones, that's going to take a considerable toll on the battery life because they'll go from 24 hours to 18 hours. So to wrap this all up, the Bose QC Ultras are still better suited for someone that likes a more neutral or vocals focused EQ, and with their immersive audio turned on, they sound much better than both the Bose NC 700s and Bose QC45s because they have significantly better instrument separation. But if you want to get the best sound quality out of these headphones, you're gonna have to sacrifice a considerable amount of battery life, which could be a problem if you plan on constantly traveling with these headphones. Now, when it comes to controlling your media with these headphones, there have been some major changes here, and plainly said, I don't like the media controls on the QC Ultra. Now, on the NC 700, you have a touchpad. Now, although this touchpad is small, you can double tap to play or pause, you can swipe front or back to skip through your music, and you can swipe up or down to adjust the volume of your music. And one swipe is one step, so adjusting the volume on the Bose NC 700 isn't horrible. However, with the QC Ultra, we have a physical button that you press once to play or pause, double tap to skip, and triple tap to go back. And we have a touch surface that you can swipe up or down to adjust your volume. And personally, I hate adjusting the volume with this new touchpad. The steps are too big, sometimes you get a quarter step, and very regularly you get missed inputs. Plainly said, I avoid adjusting the volume with these headphones, and instead I'll either use my watch or my phone. So I really hope that Bose fixes the volume controls on these headphones, because right now they're a headache, and I prefer the touchpad on the Bose NC 700s. But also, if you press and hold on this touchpad, you can assign a shortcut to it, and this is something that I'm gonna rant about in a little bit, so just stay tuned.
But something that is new on the Bose QC Ultra is that these headphones now have wear sensors, so they'll automatically pause your music when you take them off, and they'll start playing your music again when you put them back on. Now, my only critique here is these wear sensors are just a little slow to react, but nonetheless, they're still very accurate. Now, personally, I don't really care for wear sensors on my headphones, so you can turn them off if you want, but they're there if you want them.
But now let's talk about the active noise cancellation on these headphones. Now, even though the Bose NC700s were Bose's most premium ANC headphones until the QC Ultras came out, the NC700s didn't have the best ANC that Bose had to offer. The Bose QC45s actually have better ANC than the NC700s. And I can confidently say that the Bose QC Ultras have a better active noise cancellation than both the NC700s and, more importantly, the Bose QC45s, which have been my daily drivers for the past 2 years. But now we're going to jump into the ANC test, and we're also going to be including the wind noise reduction setting on the QC Ultra. So, like you may have just seen, the Bose QC Ultra block out considerably more noise than the Bose NC700s, and they also block out noticeably more noise than the Bose QC45s, which have been my favorite headphones to recommend, specifically for frequent flyers. But even though the Bose QC Ultra block out the most amount of noise here, when they have a lot of noise to block out, you do start to notice some cabin pressure. Now, the cabin pressure on the QC Ultra is not as harsh as the cabin pressure found on the Bose QC35s or the AirPod Max, but if there's a lot of noise pollution around, you will notice some pressure on your eardrums. But if you're in an area that doesn't have as much noise, then you'll feel very little to no cabin pressure. So overall, yes, the Bose QC Ultra has improved active noise cancellation performance over both the Bose NC700s and QC45s. The performance difference between the NC700 and QC Ultra is much larger than the difference between the QC Ultra and QC45. But Bose is being more aggressive this time around, and you will feel some cabin pressure when there's a lot of noise pollution around. But it's not unbearable like with the Bose QC35 or AirPod Max. But also, the Bose QC Ultra has an ambient mode. Now, the ambient mode on these headphones sounds very natural. There's zero hissing in the background, and their microphone array does a really good job of blocking out wind noise when walking outdoors. But you can't adjust how much noise these headphones let in, like with the Bose NC700 or like with a lot of other headphones out there. But the really important thing here is the ambient mode on the Bose QC Ultra is the active kind, meaning that they will actively protect your hearing from getting blasted from a sudden loud sound. All you have to do is just make sure that this feature is activated, and it works a little like this. Just a major headphone warning. So, like you may have just seen, when the Bose QC Ultra detected that sudden loud sound, they turned off their ambient mode, and when that loud sound stopped, they turned their ambient mode back on. Now, my main critique here is the QC Ultra are a little slow to react, but at least they react. Because with the Bose NC700 and QC45s, they just let in everything, like this. So, like you may have just seen, the NC700s let in everything, which is not ideal specifically if you're walking around in the city. But ultimately, I do not like using the active ambient mode on the Bose QC Ultra because it is overly sensitive and it is slow to react. Like you saw in the demo, the Ultras let in a good amount of that siren, and then they lowered their ambient mode. Hence, that's why I say that they're slow to react. But it's also overly sensitive because sounds like cars rolling by or just people walking by and chatting, like being at the mall, the Ultras will just constantly raise or lower your ambient mode. And these are the exact sounds that you need to be able to hear if you're using your ambient mode. So instead of being useful, the active ambient mode on the Ultras is a burden because instead of being able to hear the outside world and being able to be aware of your surroundings, you just end up hearing small snippets. So for the time being, I prefer to use my Ultras with their active ambient mode turned off. And I highly recommend that Bose fix their active ambient mode through a firmware update to make it less sensitive, because right now they're blocking out the exact sounds that I'm trying to hear. And it also has to react faster because I don't need to have a police siren getting amplified and making my ears ring. And something that's sorely missing on the QC Ultra is a conversation mode, like with what's found on the Bose NC700s, where they will lower the volume of your music and pump in all of the ambient sound around you, so that you can talk to someone without having to take your headphones off, like this.
Follow the light if you're not sure, listen.
So like you may have just seen with the Bose NC700s, if you press and hold on their multi-purpose button, they're going to lower the volume of your music and pump in all of the ambient sound around you so that you can quickly talk to someone without having to fully remove your headphones. And personally, I love when my headphones have this type of feature because it's super useful, especially when you're flying. Because if a flight attendant asks you if you want anything, you can quickly respond to them without having to fully remove your headphones, and you can have, quick conversations with them. But for some reason, the QC Ultras don't have this feature, but I feel that Bose can very easily add this feature to the QC Ultras by making it an available shortcut for when you press and hold on their touchpad. I just don't understand why Bose didn't include the conversation feature on the Bose QC Ultras, because a lot of other headphones out there have a similar feature. And again, this is the lack of attention to detail that I talk about when it comes to Bose and their headphones. I'm just saying, I really think that Bose should add this feature to the QC Ultras because it is annoying not having it, especially if you plan on flying a lot with these headphones. But finally, here's the microphone test, and the microphone on Bose's headphones has always been okay. The mic on both the Bose QC45s and Bose NC700s sounds decent enough to take phone calls with while in a quiet room. But I do feel that the microphone on the Bose QC45s does a slightly better job of focusing on my voice while in a quiet room than the Bose NC700s. But the microphone on the Bose QC Ultra has even better clarity than the microphones found on both the Bose QC45s and the Bose NC700s. But when it comes to blocking out noise pollution, the Bose QC Ultras do an okay job of reducing all of this road noise, all while still keeping my voice front and center. However, for comparison's sake, if we were to switch over to my lapel microphone, you're gonna clearly hear all of this road noise. But if we were to switch back over to the Bose QC Ultra, it is slightly reduced, but you can still hear a decent amount of road noise in the background. But more importantly, my voice is still front and center. Now, the Bose NC700s are also trying to block out this road noise, but they aren't blocking out as much noise and my voice doesn't sound as clear. And with the Bose QC45s, these are letting in a lot more road noise and my voice is less clear. But when it comes to blocking out chatter, the Bose QC45s do a slightly better job. And the Bose NC700s are also doing a decent job of blocking out this chatter, but there is still a slight echo going on. But finally, here are the Bose QC Ultras, and these are doing the best job here of dealing with all of this chatter. Because again, for comparison's sake, if we were to switch back over to my lapel microphone, you can clearly hear all of this chatter. But if we were to switch back over to the Bose QC Ultras, it is severely reduced, but more importantly, my voice is front and center, and there isn't an echo going on like with the Bose NC 700s. So overall, the Bose QC Ultras has a better sounding microphone on them to take phone calls with while in a quiet room than the NC 700s and the QC45s. And when it comes to blocking out chatter, the Bose QC Ultras do a decent job. However, when it comes to blocking out road noise, the Bose QC Ultras are still struggling a little bit.
But with all that being said, the Bose QC Ultra are a very impressive pair of premium ANC headphones that are definitely worth the upgrade whether you have the Bose NC 700 or the Bose QC45s. The Bose QC Ultras have a decently small case, which is great for traveling. They are very comfortable to wear for long use sessions. They're now a little lighter than the NC 700s. They block out more noise than both the NC 700s and QC45s. They have a great sounding ambient mode, which is also now the active kind, so they will protect your ears from sudden loud noises, and they sound much more open than both the NC 700 and QC45s thanks to their immersive audio. And they also have a better performing microphone as well. However, the Bose QC Ultras aren't without their shortcomings. First off, if you want to get the best sound quality out of these headphones, that is going to take a toll on the battery life, and 18 hours is a little short. The QC Ultras also don't allow you to adjust their ambient mode to your liking, and I hate that Bose didn't include the conversation mode, which is found on the NC 700. But I feel that Bose can easily add that feature. I also don't like to use the active ambient mode on these headphones because they block out the sounds that I need to be able to hear, and they're slow to react to block out the sounds that I don't want to hear. Bose definitely has some fine tuning to do with their active ambient mode. I also don't like that you can't use the QC Ultra with their ANC completely turned off, and even if you want to use them with a wired connection, they need to be powered on. And finally, there's their build quality. Don't get me wrong, the QC Ultra are well built, but they don't feel as premium as the Bose NC 700 because of their material choices. Overall, the Bose QC Ultra are a pair of very great ANC headphones, but Bose's lack of attention to the finer detail does hold them back from being amazing. However, Bose can definitely improve these headphones through some well thought out firmware updates. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something if I'm really proud of it.